I think mostly I'm surprised at the finished product. Whenever I set a video assignment, I imagine some choices that the students might make. One of the other classes that I have is a course called In the Zone. It's a critical writing class, of course, again, and it's on visual representations of the body in the media, many sports films. And last semester I had them do short 3 to 5 minute films. They had to make the films themselves. And all I said was the ultimate sports film in 3 to 5 minutes. And so I imagined 1 minute, angry coach yelling at young person. 2nd minute, young person succeeding in some sports endeavor. 3rd minute, reconciliation, much applause, and hugging all around. Triumph. I was really surprised that at the range that they came up with. One group filmed themselves discussing what would be the ultimate sports film, and then after each person discussed his or her own idea, you cut to a sort of internal visualization of what that might be. Another group tried to pinpoint a pivotal moment in American sports history when we went from the past glory days of Hank Aaron and Michael Jordan to the fallen days of today with steroid controversies and so on and so forth. So they were very, very different from what I expected. And I find just seeing their creativity defies my expectations, but is always a really, really, really wonderful moment.
And just as a follow-up question, what would surprise the students the most about the assignments?
At the level of difficulty, commitment, involvement, and time involved. That's definitely the biggest surprise, and especially when it comes to editing.
The thing that surprised me the most was we assume all the students are out there making videos that are going up on YouTube and on their websites, and they don't have the skills that we assume that they have. So that was the first surprise. And the second surprise coming from the students was how fearful they were of committing something to a visual format. And the idea that I had several students that I don't do visual work. And I say, in this class you will do visual work. And the third surprise is how much they love it when they do it. They just need the push. And they need the skills. They need a little bit of training and background skills. But when they do it, they get so excited. But the surprise for them, of course, as all of us I think have run into, is it takes a lot more time than they imagine. I try to tell them to start early, and it's always last minute panic. And I make an announcement in class, I say there will be tears. And there are. But I think it's so wonderful for them to know that they can make something that communicates. And it's not instead of writing, it's something that you do in addition to writing that shows it's another form of communication that they need to know how to do.
Yeah, I read a book a few years ago by Jacques Rancière, who was writing about the French Enlightenment. And he told a story of a professor that did not speak the language of his students. And he wanted to teach them a language that neither of them knew. Okay, so the professor doesn't speak the language of his students, and he's going to teach them a language that he does not know and that they do not know. In a lot of ways, that's the situation I'm in with digital film work. I've never made a film, and my students have made fantastic films. And how could that be? In some ways, I set the experiment up on purpose this way. I, on purpose, have never learned how to use Final Cut Pro. I've never learned how to use any of the digital video editing software as a way of being able to demonstrate to my colleagues that you too can do this. You know, we all agree that making good films is a collaborative process, but I also think teaching how to make films is a collaborative process, and that I have found that I have joined into collaborative relationships with the Vitali Digital Media Lab here at Penn in order to make my films. And in a sense, they've joined with me in teaching the class. And so I don't have to know everything about film in order to help my students make film, because there are a lot of resources here at Penn in order to do that.
Yes, I did start. I started my students on the path to making films before I had made my own little film, before I had picked up a camera and turned it on. But given that I wanted my students to play the role of producer and director, it sort of made sense because I saw myself as playing the role of a producer. The most surprising part about teaching this course has been my students' desire to get their hands on cameras and to sit down in front of video screens using Final Cut or iMovie. And we could go over to the Commons. I send them there to get introduced to projects. And then they go back to the law school where we have our own digital lab now and experiment and try to edit their films and enjoy the hands-on work. And that's been very surprising. And I've even had students make videos when I expected them to turn in papers, and the videos have been wonderful. And yes, we have streamed them. You can find them on our website.